Childhood trauma.
According to the National Institute of Mental Health, childhood trauma is defined as the experience of an event by a child that is emotionally painful or distressful, which often results in lasting mental and physical results. Hey guys, don't worry, it's me from the future. It's not like a poltergeist in the video or anything. I just wanted to bring to your attention the fact that I was reading off of a script for the entirety of this video, so if my speaking comes out sort of choppy or I'm looking down a lot, it's not because I'm an idiot, it is because I am an idiot who also can't read. You know, like when a parent bullies their child, and then their child grows up to bully their children. But that's not the type of childhood trauma that I'm going to be talking about today. I had to wipe my nose. Today I'm going to be addressing things that were meant to bring me joy as a child, but ended up bringing me sheer terror. Now before we begin, I want to preface this video by saying that this brilliant idea, unfortunately, isn't mine. The inspiration for this comes from a video by I Hate Everything titled Childhood Trauma, in which he shared some of the moments in children's movies that scared him when he was young. Zero? I was a very sensitive, vulnerable, anxious kid. One might have even called me a huge puss. I was scared of just about everything on God's green earth. I remember in grade 5 science we were learning about bog people in our wetlands unit. If you don't know what a bog person is, it's basically a body that somehow ended up in a marsh or bog and became mummified in the watery soil and such. Anyway, the wetland subject was pretty tame, as you can imagine. But on this particular day, we were learning about bog people for a bit. No big deal, right?
Wrong.
I was not comfortable, to say the least, with the idea that there was just a shitload of bodies floating around in bogs. That literally haunted me. I read like one paragraph of the handout that we were given and pieced the fuck out.
Mom, can you come pick me up? The teacher says that sometimes there's dead people in water.
That experience pretty much sums up my entire life from like ages 6 to 16. I snapped out of it recently and now I'm not scared of shit. Except chimpanzees. There is nothing in the world that could get me to be in the same room as a chimpanzee. Excuse me. That's my bowl. Look at its fucking teeth. They're too close to being humans and I can't handle it. I won't. Anyway, despite the fact that I was a huge baby for the majority of my young life, I had a hard time recalling things that were meant to be like lighthearted and funny that like genuinely scared me. Most likely because I blocked those memories out for the sake of my sanity. So most of these examples are going to be things that give me a feeling of slight unease rather than like flight or fight fear. If you're familiar with the concept of the uncanny valley, you'll know this feeling. There's kind of like a place in between feeling safe and feeling like you're in imminent danger, and that's the uncanny valley. Something that just feels off, but your monkey brain can't decide if it's a threat or not. This brings me to my first example of childhood trauma. Puppets. Now, not all puppets are scary. I was never a big fan of Sesame Street or the Muppets, but I definitely wasn't scared of them. The kind of puppet I'm talking about are these ones. The kind of puppet that is trying so hard to look like a human but falling just a little short.
That shit's creepy.
I think this style of puppetry was more popular in the 80s, like in The Dark Crystal and Labyrinth, and even in The Neverending Story a little bit. But I was still exposed to them through my mother.
Thank you.
Now, I actually love Labyrinth and The Neverending Story, like, to this day. I think because there was enough real people in it to kind of balance out the creepy puppets. But I could never bring myself to watch even 1 minute of The Dark Crystal. My mom loved this movie. She would like point it out to me at Blockbuster and I would like walk right past her, not sparing one glance to the demons on the cover art. One look into the eyes of these fuckers and I'm certain that my tiny soul would have been sucked out of my body. Like in the uncanny valley, there's just something creepy about an entity that looks almost human but is not quite. Like, is this bitch trying to eat me or does it want to calm the fuck down and use its words? A few other movies and TV shows scared me in a similar way, but not quite to the same extent. The old animated Hobbit movie gave me quite a fright because, quite honestly, just look at this. What the F? Who thought that was okay? Pretty much any motion capture animated movie made by production company Image Movers landed right in the center of the uncanny valley. The Polar Express, A Christmas Carol, etc. I think it's best for us all to accept that if you're making a feature-length animated movie, there is no way to make everything look real. Because if you get even the smallest thing wrong, you will create persisting nightmares for a generation. My next example is not quite as eerie and just so goddamn weird that it made my stomach hurt. Like stuff that was just so fucked, I truly couldn't tell you what was going on. When I was a kid, I would occasionally, if I was lucky, get to stay up a little late, like, say, past 9. And after 9 p.m. is when regular daytime Teletoon became Teletoon at night. They would play shows geared more towards older kids and adults. Most of what they showed was just like vulgar cartoons like Family Guy and South Park, but there were a couple of shows that they played in the later spots because they were too shocking for the younger kids. Shows like Ren and Stimpy, Ed, Edd and Eddy, and Courage the Cowardly Dog. Now, aside from Courage, these shows weren't really intended to be like genuinely scary. They were just a little bit more intense. And I'll tell you what, they were way too intense for me. Now, I've never actually seen a full episode of Ren and Stimpy because the child inside of me screams every time I try to bring myself to do it. But from the flashes I saw of it while frantically trying to turn off the TV, I can say with relative confidence that I don't think I would have liked it very much. There's something about the physical humor in Ren and Stimpy that made me feel like Hy-Vee everywhere. How they can just contort themselves into deformed, monstrous versions of themselves. I was also freaked out by the level of realism applied to some of the animation. The characters are obviously not supposed to look real, but sometimes they just look a little too detailed for comfort. If you saw real life Homer Simpson walking down the streets, you'd shit your pants. Ed, Edd and Eddy had a similar vibe for me, just a little bit less physical humor and more just the fact that they looked so fucking weird. They all look like they're on meth all the time. The color scheme is weird. This guy's tongue is blue. It looks like a weird version of Hey Arnold that got thrown in a wood chipper. Not to say that these shows weren't good in their own rights. They accomplished what they intended to. My head ass just didn't like it. Now, Courage the Cowardly Dog, I honest to God do not know what they were thinking when they created this. How is this a children's show? Some guy had a bad mushrooms trip and he just walked into the Cartoon Network offices and just wrote down the scariest shit he could think of, and they were like, yes.
What is this?
Return the slab.
What?
Return the slab. Or suffer my curse.
A couple of other shows on Teletoon at night that scared me for some reason were Robot Chicken and Beavis and Butthead. I would only get 20 seconds into the Robot Chicken intro before my mom would turn the TV off, but those 20 seconds of the intro were enough, honestly. And Beavis and Butthead, I don't know, I just think I don't like the way they look. Still don't. Have you ever watched something that just felt like a fever dream? You come out at the end and you just are wondering if what you just saw was even real, or if your mind went to another dimension for a bit? That's the best way I could describe my next example. Shit that is just too whack. The alcohol scene in Dumbo, these shits in Spy Kids, literally all of Fantasia. This is the kind of paint-huffing hallucination nightmare I am talking about. Some dude took something normal and fucked it up as much as humanly possible. These pink elephants, horrible. Whatever you call these freaks, atrocious. Brooms that can walk,
unacceptable.
I will not stand for it. This right here is the reason I can't trust my own mind. This has made me question if any moment in my life was real. No. Stop it. Makeup in movies. Great, right? An awesome way to bring to life a character that you may not have otherwise been able to. But sometimes there is a line that is crossed, where the makeup artist just fucks up the actor a little too much. I'm not trying to bash these makeup artists. They're really good at what they do, I'm sure. I'm not sure if the intent was to create nightmares, but if it was, congratulations. There's this one scene in The Princess Bride, fantastic movie by the way, love it, that I remember very vividly, which is the scene where Wesley is being held in a dungeon and tortured. Wesley, by the way, was the name my parents were gonna give me if I had been born a boy. In this scene, Wesley's torturer is like a freaky, cave troll looking albino dude. Now, he's not that creepy in and of himself, but the way that he performs the torture and the fact that he has like mold growing on his face. If I met this dude, I would walk the other way, get in a car, go to the airport, get on a plane, put in my earbuds, jump off the plane. Another work of makeup artistry that just gives me the chills is in The Wizard of Oz. Pretty much all of the makeup in this movie is a little jarring, but I'm talking about one character in particular, and that is the Cowardly Lion. I just actually feel bad for this man. Like, they did him so dirty. This is a picture of Bert Lahr, I don't know, the guy who played the Cowardly Lion. Pretty regular looking dude, right? How can the people who made money off of this movie, in good conscience, go on living their lives knowing they murdered this guy right in front of our eyes? Look at him! This is criminal! I can't watch this movie anymore. It's ruined for me. Now I'm gonna quickly mention the things that were creepy to me because they were intended to be creepy. A lot of brilliant movies I watched when I was a kid were unfortunately geared at an older demographic, which means on first viewing them, I didn't get the full experience because I was too busy shitting my pants. Now, of course, I love these movies, love them. There's one scene in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, arguably one of the best movies in that series, that I always associate with fear despite not really being scared of it. In this scene where Harry boards the night bus, there's a Jamaican talking head, because why wouldn't there be? Now, I was never scared of this dude in context of the movie. I was actually quite fond of him. But the home menu of the DVD is just him, saying his little snippets from the movie and cackling away.
It's going to be a bumpy ride.
I used to watch a movie on my DVD player when I was going to bed, and Harry Potter was a favorite, obviously, so this was on a lot. And sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night, whether it be because of a nightmare or a loud noise or something, and be immediately confronted by the deranged musings of this fucking shrunken head, which, to say the least, was not very comforting. This is one fear I've managed to conquer over the years because of my love for Harry Potter, but I still have very vivid memories of that laugh. Unlike Harry Potter, Jurassic Park is meant to be scary. It's fucking dinosaurs. Not fucking dinosaurs, but it is dinosaurs with the exclamation fucking before it, whatever. But if you know me, dinosaurs are the last thing on this earth that could scare me. They are my pride and joy. But there was one moment in Jurassic Park that I did not like one bit, and it didn't really even have anything to do with the dinosaurs. The T-Rex, he needs food, right? Yes. So they feed him a goat. Rough, okay. He's a big guy though, so he needs the nutrients. Young me fundamentally disagreed. I love dinosaurs, but nothing could heal my little broken heart upon seeing that poor dead goat's leg hit the roof of that car.
What's gonna happen to the goat? He's gonna eat the goat? Excellent.
What's the matter, kid? You never had lamb chops?
I happen to be a vegetarian.
It was traumatic. Ew, what the hell? So, chances are you know who Tim Burton is, but in the off chance that you don't, he is a phenomenal director who is well known for his creepy style of animated movies, such as The Nightmare Before Christmas, Corpse Bride, James and the Giant Peach. I could go on, maybe, I don't actually know his whole filmography. But one movie of his that you may not have heard of is Nine. 9 is a gorgeous film with a touching story and some really cool original concepts. Its release sort of went by unnoticed, which is tragic to me because I think it's one of his best works. 9 is meant to be creepy. It's Tim Burton. The story centers around these creepy doll fucks living in a post-apocalyptic world. Naturally, there are many creepy moments, but there is one moment that absolutely crossed the line for me. I almost pissed myself in the middle of the theater when this bitch decided to show up. This is like that creepy baby doll hybrid that psychopath in Toy Story made, which, by the way, is creepy on its own. If that baby serial killer hybrid also had hella roid rage. It's still scary now, but I have to give it a pass because it fits so well with the movie that it's almost beautiful. So if you've ever been a kid ever, which you have, you've definitely heard some scary campfire stories. I was kind of a puss, so every scary story I heard, I just believed wholeheartedly and freaked the fuck out about. But there is one that to this day, I still cannot get out of my head. I can remember vividly every detail from when I first heard the Ribbon Girl story down to the goddamn temperature it was in the car. I think in the original book it's a green ribbon, but when I heard it, it was a red ribbon, so I'm just gonna refer to it as red ribbon. If you haven't heard the story, it's pretty simple. Boy meets girl, boy falls in love with girl, they get married, live together forever. But there is one thing that is very unique about this girl. She always wears a red ribbon tied around her neck. And anytime the boy tries to ask her about it, she's always weird and vague and won't give him a straight answer. One day, she starts to get sick and eventually passes away. After her death, the boy takes the ribbon off and her fucking head falls off. I don't really feel I need to go into why I was so afraid of this story. It seems pretty self-explanatory. I just want to know why, when me and my family heard it, I was the only one freaking the fuck out about it. Did I miss something, like an April Fool's at the end or something? Was she not living with her decapitated head tied by a string to her body for her whole life? Because this seems like something that would get a significant reaction from children, and literally no one batted an eye. So my family, if you're watching this, I want you to know you're all psychopaths and I won't be associated with that. The last traumatic childhood memory I wish to share is very personal and near and dear to my heart in that it scared only me for literally no reason. Okay, so I used to watch The Land Before Time and the spin-off movies that came after it on VHS 7,000 times a day, and on one of the tapes, which one I can't remember, there was a particular ad for a children's movie titled The Adventures of Timmy the Tooth. Most likely in an attempt to get kids to take better care of their teeth, it followed the life and shenanigans of Timmy the Tooth and his pet toothbrush as they fought cavity monsters and such. Now, I am bringing this movie up because for the longest time, I had hidden Timmy in the back of my mind, reserved for only the darkest imagery. He was back there with salad fingers and this picture, which turned out to be a shitty Halloween decoration. Until this summer, when I was playing a song from The Land Before Time, because apparently that's who I am now, and it hit me. Timmy the fucking Tooth. And I'll never forget the moment I looked it up on YouTube and I saw his face for the first time in years. A face that I thought I would never see again, that I had hoped and prayed I would never see again. I would like to play this video out with the truly haunting imagery of the original advertisement for The Adventures of Timmy the Tooth. You've been a great crowd, thank you, and goodbye.
Hey, come on everybody!
Get ready to make some new friends as MCA Universal Home Video brings you The Adventures of Timmy the Tooth. Timmy and his pal Brush are always on exciting adventures, taking along their friends.
It's story time again. When I open up a book, I can travel anywhere that's near or far. I can move to any land, Rocky Mountains to the sand. I don't even need a plane, a train, or car.
But watch out for the Cavity Goon.
We're being watched.
You never know what he has up his sleeve.
I'm the Cavity Goon.
He says the truth. He's icky, he's slimy, he's dirty and mean. The baddest nemesis you have ever seen.
Filled with lovable stories and magical music, The Adventures of Timmy the Tooth is sure to brighten up even the cloudiest day.
Cimarron sunspots. It is sunny. He's all tied up, and he's being towed away by the Cavity Goon and Sweetie. It's up to us, Captain Good Guy and First Mate Brush, to save the sun.
So if you love fun and adventure,
Let's get the ancient crown of King Cuspid back over to the other side of the island. Who's with me?
you're gonna love The Adventures of Timmy the Tooth
Oh, Brush, you're my bestest pal in the whole wide world, too.
on video cassette from MCA Universal Home Video.